War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you are watching live or on the replay. And I suspect a lot of you will be watching the replay because this is an impromptu, random live stream that we don't normally have scheduled. We do these from time to time when there are topics at hand that warrant us to just get together on a random basis just to kind of share our thoughts and initial reactions. So this is a reaction show to Auburn's 2023 schedule that has officially been released, with the SEC deciding to release all of their 23 schedules, filling everything out. So we're going to be talking about it for just a brief few minutes here. My impressions of it. Love to hear some of your thoughts about it as well. So don't be shy. Get involved in the chat room. And you can start by getting involved in the chat room right now by smashing that like button if you're here on YouTube, the retweet button, the share button on Facebook and Twitter. And right now, this is our check-in period. Post where you're watching from, city, state, international, all of that stuff, so we know who is here and talking to us tonight. And of course, rain or shine, good or bad season, War Eagle. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it out there. Let's try to have a positive live stream. I get your jokes out right now if you need to. Oh, we're gonna have a coach next year. Oh, let's just talk about the schedule and think of, and kind of focus on that a little bit tonight. Let's try to keep it into perspective. So as you guys come in, we'll take some comments and questions from you all here, but we'll absolutely like to absolutely obliterate the like button. Thank you so much. Carter's here, Rise Life's here. A few others are starting to check in right now. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight on this impromptu live stream. So 2023, we've known the non-conference opponents except for one for quite some time. We've known about UMass. We knew about Cal. We knew about New Mexico State, and I believe we knew the dates for those specifically, at least the Cal and the UMass one, for a long time. What we didn't know was who that final non-conference FCS, which everybody has at least one opponent, was going to be, and we didn't know how the SEC schedule was going to lay out particularly. We knew who was on the schedule for us in terms of home and aways and who we were supposed to get in the East rotation with, obviously Georgia being our regular one and Vanderbilt being worked through this year at this time at their place as our away game. So would love to see some initial reactions from you all on this particular. Thanks for checking in from Headland. Not a bad schedule until week 5. I think that's going to be the common theme tonight. All I see are W's. Maybe not the case. Maybe not the case. It's going to be hard. Look, I know I talked about us being positive and focusing on what is this topic is particularly about, not projecting the issues at hand right now. But, you know, you can kind of still take some of that and say, well, if what we're working with right now is an indicator of the way it's going, you can see where there's some intimidating parts of this particular schedule. So let me walk through the schedule real quick, fast. And then we'll kind of piecemeal it for just a few minutes here. Because like I said, I won't be on for like a full hour or anything like that. But this was worthy of just hopping on at a random moment. So we have UMass. We'll be at home, then Cal, then home again for Samford, away at Texas A&M, back home for Georgia, away for LSU, back home 2 weeks in a row for Ole Miss and Mississippi State, away to Vanderbilt and away to Arkansas, and then back home to finish out the year with New Mexico State and Alabama. And there you go. That is how it all shakes out. Just my initial thoughts and opinions about this particular schedule is it is laid out much better this year. I know we all loved having, and we're in the midst of it right now. We've got 2 more left of this 5-game homestand. Hasn't gone exactly the way we wanted. But we are still enjoying the fact that we're at home for 5 straight games. The downside of that is that you're going to be away from your home for basically the entire month of October, minus October 1st and like the last weekend of October. 2 away games with a bye week there. I mean, you don't see Auburn during the month of October at all. This is much, much better. I prefer personally a staggered, as much as you can, approach to the schedule. I prefer starting off at home with somebody, usually a little rinky-dink opponent, having a big game either at a neutral site or away, or do a home and home series like we've been done with Penn State the last couple of times, but this time it'll be with Cal, and then coming back and forth. And at some point you're going to have some overlap between 2 away games, 2 home games, but I really like how this kind of lays out over the course of next year. And I think it gives, outside of a tough little stretch that we all see on there, I think it's going to give the Auburn Tigers a lot of advantages next year to kind of get themselves tested on the road early, but also, come back home and get some of that security blanket that you typically have at home. Replace Vanderbilt with Georgia. We need some time. Well, we don't. They're on the schedule, so we can't replace them. I don't know who else you would replace. Maybe South Carolina. You should never want to replace Georgia, no matter how good they are, no matter how bad Auburn might be, or even the reverse of that in some years. This is the Deep South's oldest rivalry. You should look forward to that every single year because of the history behind it, because how important it is for both schools. I mean, let's be real. Auburn is Georgia's rivalry game. They can act all they want. It's kind of like Alabama acting like Tennessee is a rivalry game. It's not. To be a rivalry game, you have to be in the modern era. I mean, modern, like the last 2 decades, be relevant as part of that rivalry, which Auburn has been for Alabama and for Georgia, just not so much in the current years right now. Away to Arkansas, ouch, and LSU, switch them. No, well, see, that's the thing, is you got to remember, you should always kind of have it in your mind how this will go each year, because it's always LSU, Texas A&M, and Arkansas together as far as away and home. So they'll always be together, either a home or away. Alabama, Mississippi, and Mississippi State, and Georgia now will always be, here, or excuse me, or home or away together as well. So that's how it always shakes out. This looks like one of the easiest schedules Auburn has had in 10 years. That is an interesting comment. Jordan, is that how you say that? Jordan? Yeah, Jordan. I don't know that it's particularly easy. We'll talk about that in just half a second here, about that stretch right there at the beginning, the second, third, or second, fourth of the season. That is going to be the toughest stretch of the entire year. I haven't looked at anybody else schedule yet, frankly, because I don't care, but I will look at some point just to, we all wonder how easy their schedule might appear to be. We have Vanderbilt this year, so we can't really talk, right? If ever there was a time to schedule Vanderbilt, it's in a time where Auburn football's future seems a little uncertain. So thank you to SEC for, not that they did this on purpose, but for definitely somehow magically putting Vanderbilt on their schedule during this particular time, even if it's away. I know it's kind of out of order, but let me just talk about that Vanderbilt game. And for me personally, my goal is to go to every single SEC stadium and watch one Auburn game there. I've not gotten very far in that list. I've been to Florida, I've been to Mississippi State, I've been to LSU, I've been to Kentucky. So I, with the very few opportunities you have once every 12 years right now to go to a opposite divisional teams in the SEC place to watch your team, makes a lot of sense. I am going to be marking this down, going straight there next year. And, you really shouldn't have any conflicts the first week of November, right? If it was election year, then yeah, that would be a little bit challenge. Well, but that'd be on a Tuesday. So that's neither here nor there, nor does anybody really want to get into that particular topic tonight. But yeah. Yeah, John, I knew those were going to be the type of comments. We're not really getting into that. I wonder who's going to be the coach, but it doesn't really matter. We're just talking about the schedule right now. We've struggled against Vandy for some reason, not historically, but the last couple times we played them, they have been a little bit closer than we would like them to be. They beat us in, I forget when they beat us. Somebody remind me. Not that I want to remember that, but just in terms of finding the good out of what we hope is a boring matchup with Vanderbilt, even on the road, I'm excited to go see their stadium, go be, in the Music City. So I'm already making plans right now that I'm going to be there on November 2nd. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for the way this schedule is going to lay out. When we talked about last year, when this time a year ago, and I remember where I was as it was being revealed, I kept seeing this schedule come up and I kept seeing home game. I was like, your initial reaction is like, yeah, that's awesome. But then you're like, but that means there's going to be a lot of away later on. And sure enough, it was, and that's coming. So I'm very happy with the way this thing rolled out. 2008 and 12, they beat us twice. Is that bad? Oh, somebody's got the exact date down. I can tell that one sticks out in Auburn fans. All right, UMass, they'll be coming to Auburn, and not really much to say about that other than, that should be a good opening weekend, college football weekend opening win for us in a normal year with things going the right direction. Going to Cal for the first home and home of this particular series. So, yes, it's been fun with Penn State, but unfortunately, we can't keep going with that. Not that we really want to at this moment, the way we're performing, but starting a new one with Cal and having them back in the next year is going to be a lot of fun. So we'll be a year from now, God willing, talking about this on this channel. A year from now, talking exactly the opposite way about this. So Cal will be out there. I don't know that I can personally justify a trip out to California to watch this particular matchup, but hey, you never know. It would be cool to go see some of these historic places and see Auburn in them for the very first time, or for the few times that it's ever happened for teams like that. Sanford. And so this was the FCS school that was not, to my knowledge, announced or even hinted at. Maybe it was hinted at yet. We have a lot of history with Sanford, being that Pat Sullivan was their head coach for a long time, and some other things as well, I believe. So it's kind of nice to see that kind of come back around. Unlike Alabama, the University of Alabama, we are not afraid to play the in-state schools. Sometimes it almost bit us in the butt one time, but hey, hopefully that won't happen here this year. And I've got some brothers who went to Sanford, so that's always a fun little connection there. I'm excited to have them as part of the schedule, and it'll be nice to kind of UMass, travel all the way out to Cal, kind of reset with a hopefully easy opponent in Sanford before you start an incredibly difficult, the most difficult stretch you could probably have on the SEC schedule. Texas A&M, Georgia, and LSU. Let me just stop here for a second, and I don't have too much longer to spend here because I want to get through all of this. But when they first announced that they were going to be moving the Georgia game to earlier in the schedule, in my mind, it made more sense for them to do something like this, have Georgia be the prime game of the first third of the schedule. So maybe that third, it should be in the Texas A&M slot this year. The LSU game should be or whichever one, should probably be the prime game of the October schedule. And then Texas A&M should have been moved in, but as farther apart as possible in the November schedule. Unfortunately, they decide, forget all that. We're going to put them bang, 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 right back to each other. Arguably your stiffest competition historically, Texas A&M, Georgia, and LSU all back to back. Now, Aggies are in Aggie land. The history tells you that the away team wins that. Will that happen last year? I don't know. Georgia, just depends on what Georgia looks like and Auburn looks like, but at least it's at home. And then we get to go back to LSU, where we will try to make our own streak in Baton Rouge after we broke their win streak finally under Coach Harsin there. So remember, everybody that's all mad at Harsin right now, you can thank him for ending the streak finally when no other coach could. Not Tommy, not Gene, not Gus. Ryan Harsin did that for you. So just be thankful for that at least. At least we haven't seen Florida State, my nightmare. I would love to see Florida State again, especially the way they're performing right now. I know they seem to be kind of on the uptick, but it is Florida State. They'll find a way to falter. Auburn always has the toughest schedule every year. Billy, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. This one doesn't look as tough simply because that stretch we're talking about right now, that is incredibly tough. And then you've got Alabama bookending. But, you've got Ole Miss and Mississippi State at home, and then you go to Vanderbilt. Arkansas can be like up or down, and then New Mexico State. So really the back half of that schedule is very favorable for Auburn. What will probably be arguably your toughest opponent will end the season at home. Away game, Vanderbilt. There are three other home games in Arkansas, which you just never know who you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. I don't know that it's the toughest next year, but it's Auburn. We play Georgia, we play LSU, we play Texas A&M now, we play Alabama. We will have one of the toughest schedules no matter what. Some anger about Florida State in there. Thomas, I agree. I think the non-conference is very much timely. Not that they know what's going to happen off in the future, but when I saw that Cal was scheduled, just kind of knowing where they were as a program at the time and where they currently seem to be, didn't look like it was going to be all that impressive of a matchup, but it probably will be, just kind of considering how things are going right now with us and currently with them. But I think it's who you need to see when you need to see them. That's the important thing. And definitely think the non-conference sets us up very, very nicely for how that works out for us. Man, real upset about that Florida State matchup. Rise Life. Jeez. All right. What are some of your initial thoughts about this? I mean, just to kind of continue to walk through it just for a few more minutes here. Ole Miss and Mississippi State at home. You get the Mississippi's back to back. We talked already about the Vanderbilt matchup. Arkansas on the road. Will they still be on that hype train they're on now? I don't think so. I just don't think it's sustainable for them in New Mexico State. And then listen, if you ever needed proof that you should never count out Auburn or Alabama for that matter, you just don't have a good reason to count them out right now. In the Iron Bowl in Jordan-Hare, last year was proof of it. There's no reason that Auburn should be going to 4 overtimes with Alabama, and somehow they found a way to do it. Now, they somehow found a way to lose that game, which they had under their control. But the Iron Bowl in Auburn is always magic and has been since the day that Pat Dye got it here. It's going to be incredibly fun no matter how good or bad Auburn is. If we win 90% of your conference games in the SEC, you don't need a tough non-conference schedule to look pretty dang good. Absolutely. I mean, that is basically our resume right there, is just playing in the SEC. Not really concerned about some of that discussion. Sorry, Will. Right now, we're just talking about the schedule at this point. Okay, we're getting back on that particular thing. So any other thoughts about the schedule overall, whether it's the non-conference, the SEC schedule? Is this how you would have preferred it to lay out? Would you have wanted anything a little bit different? Whether that be, spreading out Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, would you have rather played someone other than Vanderbilt? Would you have rather there been a different non-conference opponent that we didn't know about yet until they announced Samford tonight? What are some things of the schedule that you might prefer? And even if you can't think of those now, come back later and share that in the comments section. So we'll take a few more comments and questions, but let me do this real quick. If you haven't, please do smash the like button if you enjoy this type of content. Check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support our content. A few of those are listed there. One of those is you can join the Booster Club, patreon.com/E2C Network, or become a channel member, hitting that join button for $1 a month to help produce the content here. And we appreciate so many of you that have done that for us. I'd say Oregon at home instead of Vanderbilt. Wouldn't have anything to do with Bo Nix, would it? He won't be there next year. I mean, it'd be cool to do a home and away with Oregon, but yeah, that's just not going to happen, or at least right now. The neutral site game was enough for me, and we got the better of that, so I'm pretty happy. I honestly wish we had that scheduled this year. Maybe our head coach may or not be on the hot seat. Gotcha. That's a nice way to work that in there, even though we're not talking about that right now. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have that scheduled this year, but you can only play the game that's been handed to you. Need 4 easy games. Good Lord. I just cannot stop talking about it. Anyway, yeah, I think overall initial reaction, just kind of summon this whole thing up. Tough stretch, games 4 through 6. Very favorable back half. Happy with the non-conference. Not an easy schedule, but overall a schedule that may find Auburn really appreciating next year, considering the volatility that is potentially happening right now, and starting a home-and-home series with Cal to have them back here in 2 years will be incredibly fun. You want to see Florida too? I agree. It would be nice to have some of these traditional rivals, Florida, Tennessee, back on a regular basis, but we won't know that. You play the best to be the best. Amen. You can't say you're the best if you can't beat the best out there. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this impromptu live stream. I hope that you enjoyed it, and this is why it's important to be subscribed and have the notification bell marked. Not just go and hit both things, but under notifications, hit all, So, anytime that we go live, anytime there's a video coming out. In fact, tomorrow we'll be posting a video, a little vlog of my time during the Penn State weekend, so you can see the sights and the sounds from all that I experienced while we're there. Oh, let's do this real quick. Predictions, early predictions. Don't be a grump. What is your honest opinion where that Auburn's has a good opportunity to be competitive? What do you think right now? Early predictions. Post that as we're closing out here, and then I'll check some of them on the way out as I exit here. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You are the best little family within the Auburn family, and I appreciate you being here, hanging out with me, spending time with me to talk about being part of the Auburn family, and of course, Auburn football. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.